Hey guys, I got a great video from a buddy of mine saying, Brian, it'd be great if you could do a video on the importance of strengthening up your core. Up until a week ago, I just associated core with a six pack, and because I have a tubby stomach, I never attacked core as I was getting more results by doing arms and shoulders, etc. Can you please do a video about the importance of strengthening core? Yeah, I completely get that. Generally, what people think is when they say core, they associate core with six pack, and the reality is they're two different things completely. A six pack is when you've developed, your rectus abdominis and the muscles in your stomach to the point that they're kind of protruding through, and your body fat is low enough that you can see them. The reality is everyone has a six pack. It's just covered by a layer of fat, whether it be like visceral fat or subcutaneous fat. Your visceral fat that's underneath your subcutaneous fat, the one that you can't see that's over the vital organs, and your subcutaneous fat, the one obviously that's your tummy or your belly that you can see. I actually had a deep talk with my client during the week about the difference between the visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. What you need to understand is when you're losing fat around your stomach and losing fat around that general region, your body's got to take it from two different places. It's got its visceral fat, which is the fat you can't see. It's underneath the fat in your tummy, the fat in your stomach, and your subcutaneous fat is the one you can see, the one you can pull at and poke at, and take chunks of. Your body needs to tap through its, visceral fat first before, it will start taking the subcutaneous fat. So that's why people get very disheartened when they're dieting, and they're, losing weight from their arms and their legs. They just can't get rid of their tummy, or their stomach. Generally, it comes down to years and years of not eating right or eating things like fast food, where you've got your trans fat pockets around your lower abdomen, and it takes your body time. It does eventually tap into it. It's kind of like if you keep chopping away at an oak tree, you get to the center of it. It's kind of that way. You kind of keep tipping along, doing the right things, and eventually your body will start to use that visceral fat, and then you've got that subcutaneous fat that you can see and pull at, and your body starts using that for fuel. And that's what happens when you go from somebody that's got a big massive tummy to now having a six pack. That's generally you've tapped into your visceral fat, you've tapped into your subcutaneous fat. But in terms of the importance of training core, your core is everything. Whether you train it directly through things like planks and isometric holds, that's completely up to you. Because if you're training correctly, things like squats, deadlifts, all your compound movements are going to recruit your core. Your core is the most important thing in your body because it's the thing that keeps you straight, keeps you upright. And if your core is weak, everything else is going to be weak. And it comes back to the old cliche that you're only as strong as your weakest point, weakest link. And if your core is weak, all your lifts are going to be weak. So if you're weak, your squat and your deadlift and these moves, the compound moves are weak, you're not going to get as strong as you can be. You're not going to trigger that metabolic spike because you're not moving as much weight that your body can move. For example, your legs can probably push way more weight, but your core gives way, so you can't actually max out with your reps of 8 or reps of 10 or whatever range you're working in. And if you're looking for function, your core is key. If you're an athlete, you work from the core and then everything else around it. So if you're weak at the core, you're going to be so easy push over. You're not going to be strong in any of your lifts. You're not going to be the strongest physical version of yourself, which you need. In terms of aesthetics, there is a big difference. Like core is one thing and six pack is another thing. You need to be able to differentiate both. It doesn't say that one is better than the other. Obviously a six pack is going to be very aesthetic, but that comes down to diet, nutrition, low body fat. To a degree, training your abs. I don't do much direct ab work at all anymore. I used to train a lot in college. Now I don't do it at all. It gets hit with all of my lifts. If I'm doing a barbell curl, my shoulders are pulled back and my core is engaged. If I'm doing a squat, shoulders are pulled back, core is engaged. So my core is getting engaged all through my workouts, so I don't directly hit it that much anymore. I will do things like TRX planks and isometric holds to strengthen it up, particularly if I'm doing like a functional movement phase in my program where I'm going away from bodybuilding style stuff and I'm doing more box jumps and TRX and kettlebells. But again, that's purely for function. So to answer your question, it's important. Core training is important for all overall function. You want to be the strongest version of you. Make sure your core is strong, but the key is just engaging it all through your workouts. Doesn't matter what exercise you're doing, you can tighten your core. The standard range is shoulders back, core tight on everything. Anytime anyone sees me with a client, it doesn't matter what move they're doing, whether they're doing a tricep push down, barbell curl, or shoulder press. It's like shoulders back, core tight. It's just general rule of thumb. So try incorporating that into all of your moves, and what you'll find is your core is going to start getting significantly stronger without you even, after about a week, you won't even realize you're doing it. It'll just become the new way you train, because your body will start creating new neuromuscular pathways, and it'll remember that this is the way you do the move, and it'll forget the old pattern, the incorrect way of doing it. If you think of all movements are, they're called neuromuscular pathways. It's basically, if you think of, walking through a jungle, the first time you walk through a jungle, you gotta fucking chop everything out of the way. There's branches all over the place, there's trees, there's the whole lot. But once you've been through it once, there's already a pathway through it. And muscular movements are the same. Exercise patterns are the same. Once you get used to doing it one way, that path's already been cut, and you just keep following it in repetition. But just make sure you're doing it the right fucking way, because if you do it the wrong way, you're going to create, muscular imbalances. You'll be thrown off structure. Your structural integrity will be, completely off. So it's really about doing things correctly, doing the movements correctly, and being able to make the mindset. You've made it already that a six-pack and core are separate things in the air, but you can still make your core stronger by doing things like making sure it's engaged all the way through your exercises. So try that out. Let me know if it helps. And please like, tag and share with anybody who may find this resourceful, or particularly with people that might be, that are in they are still confused about the difference between core and a six-pack, because they are two different things. Or if you're just an athlete, or just somebody that's looking to be the strongest version of themselves and find that their core is a little bit weak, tag them below.